Hey guys, I'm Nichola from MKH. I am in Australia at the moment and my son Yule is in Australia at the moment, but my husband is still in Korea. So, did I fly alone with a 1-year-old? Yes, I did. Do I have a horrific traumatic story to tell about that? Yes, I do. So before I get into it, please subscribe if you haven't already. Not everybody sees our videos these days. We're kind of negatively influenced by Hugh's transformation video getting a lot of views because then people subscribe for like fitness gym stuff, which is not what our channel is about. So our videos aren't really being shown to the right person and that negatively affects us. So if you are interested in Korean culture, in Australian culture, in intercultural family life and living in Korea, then please subscribe to us because that would be really great. Okay, we're at the airport. Yule is down here eating fries. Yule and I are heading to Australia, but you were staying here because you got to work, right?
All by myself. And this is also first time, like
in a long time that we're going to be separated this long. I'll have lots to talk about later about what it's like flying with a 1-year-old. So I decided to come back to Australia for the Easter holidays with our son Yule, and Hugh has a lot of work to do in Korea. So he had to stay there while I came back, and I'm at my parents' house at the moment, and I'm currently hiding in the backyard so Yule doesn't see me and want me because he's a little bit clingy after flying and coming out here. So he's with my mum at the moment, and I've just set up my phone and I'm filming like this. I'm sorry I don't have the normal setup that I would have and the proper lights and everything like that. My phone is just literally balancing in a vine tree thing at the moment. So, flying with a 1-year-old. I have flown with Yule when he was 1 before. I have done that before, but at that time, there was this really lovely French family sitting around me, near me, and they helped me out the whole flight, and I did not have that this time. So we said goodbye to Hugh at the airport. Like, he came to the airport with us and said goodbye, and Yule cried saying goodbye to him, and it was very sad. Okay, so we get to go through the priority lane because of this guy, but it's still super hard. Yura, 안녕하세요. Are you gonna be good for mommy?
Be nice, okay? Be nice.
You say bye-bye to daddy? You say bye-bye to daddy?
Take care, okay?
Okay. I will send you a message when I'm in Australia. But I was prepared for the flight. I had all the stuff that I needed and I was mentally prepared. I had asked for a window seat because I wanted to be sitting somewhere where he couldn't get up and roam around. So that was another time that we're flying, that was a problem because we're at the front and there's space and he wants to get down off the seat and roam around the aircraft, which you don't want your kid doing that, and you don't want to be the parent chasing after the kid doing that. So I was like, a window seat is better because I can put him at the window seat and then I will sit here and he can't go anywhere, he's trapped there. So they gave me a window seat, but for some reason they gave an elderly man the seat next to me. This guy was so old, he was in his 90s probably, that he had the little badge that says need assistance or something like that on him. So this is not somebody that can easily get up and down in the flight. While I'm a mother with a 1-year-old that is going to have to go to the bathroom, maybe walk up and down the aisles with him a little bit. And this guy was really old. He was really lovely. He was a lovely old Korean gentleman, and I spoke to him in both Korean and English, like we had conversation, but I felt so bad that he was sitting next to us, a stressed out mom and a 1-year-old. So I'm thinking, like, I'm not even going to be able to go to the toilet. This is a 10-hour flight. What am I going to be able to do? And the plane starts to go along the runway, and Yule has been sort of climbing around a little bit, and then he squats down, and I'm like, oh no, please no. Now, I do want to make it really clear that across our blogs and social media, I have never really mentioned poop that much because I don't want to be a mum that is shaming my kid for having a natural bodily function, and I don't want to make it too much of a funny joke or anything like that. I try to respect my son, and I try to respect that he's going to be able to watch these later when he's older, and I'll remove anything that he wants me to remove. But for this video, I am going to have to mention poop, and I want to do it in solidarity of other parents that have had horrific poop experiences as well, because it's a thing that happens with kids, and if you're going to have kids, then this is going to happen to you. So he squatted down and I thought, I'll just check his nappy. Diaper, as you say in America, but we say nappy in Australia. And I didn't even get to sort of lift it open to look, because as I put my hand down, my hand already had poop on it. So I bring my hand up and there's already poop, diarrhea poop on it. I'm like, oh no. And I look down and it is on his shirt, it is on his pants, it's just like creaming out of his nappy. Oh my gosh. And the plane is going along the runway. So I press the call button and I get the flight attendant to come, and I'm just like, I need to change my kid. And I'm like, hold him up, and he's like covered in poop. And they're like, okay, you can go. And she, was very nice and, let me go into the bathroom and put the thing down. And Yul was not happy. It took me about 15 minutes to really clean him up. I had to I had a plastic bag, luckily. I had lots of wet wipes, and I just throw his clothes out. I had another shirt to put on him, but he didn't have any pants on, he just had his nappy on. And the plane is just slowly going along. And I know they can't go up because I'm still in the bathroom trying to clean a poopy kid. And then finally I come out and the flight attendant is there, and I'm like, I was like Suregi Tong in Korean to the Korean flight attendant, like, this needs to go in the rubbish bin. And it's this big bag full of his clothes and his nappy and wet wipes. And she's like, it's okay, she takes it, but he won't let go of it. So he wants to hold his poopy nappy bag. And so finally I wrench it out of his hand. So he's crying, he's upset, and I don't know where she put this massive thing of poop. And I have to go back to my seat, and everybody's sitting there like looking at me as I hold this like half dressed kid. Everybody knows that he has had a poop blowout, a nappy blowout, and go back to my seat. Oh, and that's the other thing I didn't mention. In order for me to get up, this elderly guy has to slowly get up out of his seat. I felt so bad. So he's very, very slowly like this, getting out of the seat so I can get out with my kid. And, we flew Asiana Airlines and we fly them all the time. They're great. But I just don't know why at the booking, he's clearly labeled as needs assistance. The flight attendants were there asking him, are you okay? Is everything okay? Why would you put an elderly gentleman that needs assistance and probably says that on the system next to a mum and an infant? It clearly says I have an infant with me. I don't know. I finally get back to my seat. I didn't have the same sort of support that I would have around me that I have had other times. Often you have the older Korean woman, the Ajumas. Technically, I'm an Ajuma because I'm married with a kid, but in Korea you think of an Ajuma with the perm and older in their 40s and 50s. I didn't really have anyone like that around me. And when you do on a flight, they're happy to hold your kid and, distract him and that. So it was just all me. And when they come around and bring the food, I was already prepared. I had food for him. I made zucchini slice for him. He happily ate that. But they bring my food. He wants to sit on my lap and play with my food. It's nothing I can do about it. So he's sitting on my lap and I get to eat a tiny bit while he's just la 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 trying to eat everything, because you don't want him to cry. It doesn't matter how much discomfort I'm going through, how awkward it is, how much he's climbing all over me. You don't want your kid to cry, and you don't want your kid to have a tantrum, because that is the worst, because that's when you start getting the dirty looks from people and people are not understanding. And Yul is pretty good. He's a pretty happy kid. So I wasn't too worried about him having a tantrum, but you just never know. Everything is chaotic, and you don't know. Kids are unpredictable. You don't know what kids are going to do. And it was actually a few hours before he would really go to sleep properly. So I'm trying to soothe him and get him to go to sleep, and he would start whining every now and then, and I'd be shh. Already feeling oh God, what if somebody says something? I'm doing my best in this situation. And then he wants to sleep with his head on the old gentleman next to us. And that guy was lovely and let him do that for a little while, but I was just oh my gosh, I'm already so stressed out, and he wants to sleep on the guy. Oh, this poor old guy he was old. And then Yul wants to lay down on the seats and kick the old guy like this. And I was oh, I'm just on me, I'm so sorry. oh, what can I do? But I moved him from that situation. I was at a very awkward position most of the time. My back still hurts for being in that position. And finally, he went into a really deep sleep and slept mostly until we actually landed in Australia. So as a mum, I can't actually sleep on a 10-hour flight to Sydney because he'll roll off the seats, or he'll kick the old guy next to you, or he'll do something. I've got to be awake for this whole time while he's asleep as well. So that's overnight, 10-hour flight. And then we had to wait at domestic terminal in Sydney Airport for quite a while to then fly to my hometown, which was a 1-hour flight. And that was actually when he had the tantrum. Luckily it was a very small flight full of countryside people, so that was okay. So we had a bit of a screaming tantrum as we went up, but it's a little plane and everyone was really lovely around me, so that was okay. And then he slept the rest of the flight. It's funny actually flying the countryside flight because you only have about 5 minutes to eat, because most of the flight is going up and then you go along a little bit and then down. It's a 50-minute flight in a very small plane, and most of the flight is just going up and going down. And then finally my parents met me at the airport there. Now, I know whenever the topic of flying with kids comes up, there will be people that say things like, well, you shouldn't fly with kids anyway, you know, kids shouldn't fly until they're old enough to blah, 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 blah. Whatever that bullshit is that people say, because there are plenty of families like us that are international, intercultural families, and we have to fly. Our families are in different countries. And in general, kids are allowed to fly. They should be allowed to fly anyway. That is life. You know, they are little humans. They have to go places as well. Weddings, funerals, visiting family, kids have to fly. And most parents are doing the best that they can. Now, there will be some parents who just let their kids do whatever they want. I've definitely seen that. But I think the majority of parents are already very stressed out and they're doing their best. And they are so apologetic if their kid is being noisy or if their kid is crying. And kids' ear tunnel things are smaller, they get more pain with the pressure and that. They don't understand what's going on. So parents doing their best. In my early 20s, I definitely didn't understand how hard it was to fly with kids, and I've definitely been annoyed at babies crying on flights, but these days I'm just very sympathetic because I know how hard it is. So some tips for flying with babies and toddlers. It's actually really good to fly when your baby is like 4 or 5 months and you have an overnight flight, because they're likely just to sleep all the way through, and you can get the bassinet at the front and the vibrations of the plane actually soothes them a lot. It's when they get, you know, sort of a bit older than that and around age 1 and older that they want to play, they want to do things, but they don't understand what's going on. When kids get a little bit older, you can explain things to them and have lots of activities, but flying with a 1-year-old is definitely an adventure. Now, since I have done this twice, I have flown by myself with my 1-year-old twice before. Actually 3 times, I guess. 3 different flights. I do have some tips. Now, firstly, make sure you are prepared. Have lots of snacks, have food for them, have water, have drinks, have lots of activities. Have activities that they haven't seen before, so it's a special treat on the plane. I made sure I had dinner for him because I knew the Asiana doesn't necessarily provide like a baby meal. So I made sure that I had something easy that I knew that he liked, that he could eat. Always pack more nappies, diapers than you think you will need, because you could have major poop blowouts. You could have several of them. So pack lots of them, because I think I was running pretty low. Like by the time I got on my last flight, oh, that's something else I forgot. He had another poop blowout just before getting on the second flight. Luckily, I was still in the airport and was managed to change him. And that's the countryside flight. You got to go right out on the tarmac to like get onto the flight, and you get on and it's all the countryside people and lovely flight attendant. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I was a little bit late getting on the plane. He had a poop blowout, and they're like, that's fine, that's fine. So that was not my horror story, the second poop blowout. The first one was. Make sure you've got lots of wet wipes. Make sure you've got plastic bags to put things in. Make sure you've got toys that are not going to irritate other passengers, but are things that your kid can be distracted by. Have all your travel documents easily accessible in a little case. You can even sort of hang it around you, because if you've got a bunch of stuff, because of course you have to have a bunch of stuff when you're traveling with a kid, it needs to be easily accessible. Try to fill out the cards, your sort of immigration cards, when your kid is asleep, otherwise they are going to try to grab them. On my other flight with Yule, he grabbed my pen, and his Australian passport, he has a Korean and Australian passport, his Australian passport has this squiggle of a marker on it, which luckily is okay, but that was because he was grabbing it from me when I was trying to fill out his immigration card. If possible, try to have family members at the other end so they can just like take your kid from you, take the bags, because you don't want to pack too much stuff, but you still end up having a lot of stuff. And I would have him in the carrier. So as I'm going through the airport and that, I have him in the carrier here. I have a backpack on the back, and then I have another bag that's got some other stuff and some of his toys and that type of thing. So you are so weighed down with all this stuff, like traveling with a 1-year-old. So you want to make sure that you've got somebody else at the end that's just gonna like take it from you, take everything from you immediately. And actually going through the airport, going through security, I did have a lot of sort of middle-aged people helped me a lot, and they were like, I remember what this was like, you know, let me help you. So I haven't had a really negative experience of someone directly being really rude to me, and I have had a lot of help from people. So I think that is a really nice thing. You know, the biggest nightmare story is just things that are way out of my control, and I think that's the worst thing about flying with a 1-year-old is you can try to control everything, but you're not going to be able to control everything. So that is what makes it stressful. But just be prepared as you can, and just take a deep breath and deal with the poop. Okay, and I still have another flight to go back to Korea in a week. So I might have another video. If you have more questions for me, I'm not sure if I covered everything, but if you have some questions, then leave them down below, because I might be making another video about what my flight was like then. Okay, so subscribe to us if you haven't already, and you can check out comics on our blog about our life together and our social media, and I will see you later. Bye bye.